Tonight we have some, why don't you move up here? Tonight we have some writing I wanted to read because it came through so clear last night. I think it was when I, in the middle of the night, woke up. And it's on healing, this class on healing. Your planet's purpose for most incarnates is healing. The elimination of fear and negative misunderstanding is a healing process. All healing comes from the higher states of spirit, step down to many levels below, and appears in different ways. The wave of growth on any level is preceded by healing and is the forerunner of growth. Dis-ease, externalized in the physical or mental, gives the individual opportunity to recognize the internal imbalance. If only the outer effect is treated, then the inner conflict will reappear outward in the same or another form, giving the individual the opportunity to realize the cause by examining the inner distortion. Understanding from mental level can give rise to open doors to the spiritual levels to bring to light the root of the cause, thus opportunity for permanent cure if spiritual adjustment is corrected and maintained in the consciousness. All healing flows from the highest point of consciousness, a level of the Creator you call God. If this flow is interrupted or distorted on any expression of life you call dimension, it does not reach your lower levels, or it reaches them distorted, not in the pureness of its origin. Therefore, the steadfastness of the channel that conveys the healing energy is encouraged. The channel can be self, or one participating in the pursuits of healing, but the true healer is the self that retains the distortion or disease, for it is the one who carries the illness who must accept the healing through understanding the cause and assimilation of the truth into the individual's consciousness before the outer manifestation of the balance is achieved. It is through the prism of divine love that all healing is finalized. The vibrations of fear, in whatever guise, coming from within, disturbs the natural rhythm of the vapors of health, causing a cloudiness in what you think of as the aura, disturbing the colors of health. This is reflected back to the lower bodies, including the physical, that brings the destructive emanations of fear that cause the lack of ease, that brings pain, discomfort, and nervousness. These distortions are not godlike, but they are serving a purpose to bring to your attention the destructive thoughts, moods, feelings, and attitudes that need to be transformed into constructive, loving rhythms that are conducive to adding more life force to the individual instead of taking away from the life energies that enhance life. You could call pain, discomfort, and nerve disease an alarm system saying, "Awaken, your house is in danger." It comes, and it's such long sentences, it's hard to read. At the Oasis, when they edited it, they would shorten the sentences. That but it's still in writing or whatever. It still comes not along since. But yeah. Lights, action, camera. Is it a little bit cold?
No, is this the Lord?
Yeah.
Sure.
Uh-huh. Good evening, my dear ones. This is Don, coming to you from these realms of love and light, a doorkeeper from your realm to our realms. There is a new beginning tonight for your Wednesday night sessions, as you call them. iLight that you ask about has arranged for healing angels to come to in your midst to help bring about greater understanding about healing, and maybe in the future have a healing circle for you. The one who will speak to you tonight has not given a name, but it is a very high being of light that works with healing on your planet. I will release to this one now. Good evening, my dear ones. It is indeed a pleasure to be with you, and it is always a pleasure to touch into your earth vibrations and to be in conscious contact with you. We work with your planet and the healing area where those who are open will do invite us in, whether consciously or unconsciously. They are asking for help. There is much work to be done in the healing area, for it is healing of the spirit, of the mind, and of your bodies that is necessary to release you from these lower dimensions. And as you understand the misunderstandings that you have allowed yourself to descend into through many lifetimes and long periods of time on your planet, you can rise above these and be able to be free from these lower levels. It is the purpose of everyone on your physical plane and other lower dimensions to rise above these lower dimensions. Some get stuck in these lower levels and repeat the same mistakes lifetime after lifetime, and they cause a lack of ease in the lower bodies by not allowing their spiritual bodies to be fed, and by cutting themselves off from the higher realms of spirit, their true nature. As you move through your incarnation, as you allow yourself to open up to a greater level of consciousness, realize this, and realize there is much, much more for you to learn than just going through your day-to-day living. Your day-to-day living is just the outer form, or if you were a carpenter, we could say the framework of the house. and to just build a framework that has no ceiling or siding would not give you much protection from the elements. So it is with your physical life that when you do not pay attention to your spiritual being, to your spiritual understanding, that you allow yourself to go through incarnation without receiving any understanding, and sometimes going backward. I am opening the door to this subject tonight in a little despairing way, but I must tell you as it is, so that you can understand where you are and what is happening to you. And I tell you, those who come to this circle of light have a much greater understanding than the average individual on your planet. Those who are seeking the new way of thinking, those who are moving into a higher consciousness by searching out a greater understanding in many ways, are the forerunners for this new age. And you who come to this center and this circle of light are forerunners. You open the door for many, many yet to come, and you make a pathway for them to follow. You may not understand this, my dear ones, but you see, you make impressions on the ethers, and those who come after you feel the vibrations of these impressions, and they follow this on an unconscious level sometimes, if they are seeking the truth. And so when you make these pathways or impressions on the ethers, you are making them for many, many yet to follow after you. As you live your life, so do you make the impressions, so do you make the pathways. And as you think, as you feel, as your attitude is, as you are with God. And in this way, do you make the impressions on the ethers? Do you make a pathway for those to follow who come after you? As you go through your days, try to think of much more than just the material, physical plane. Try to have periods of time where you stop and think of your spirit and your soul's growth and give value to it. Give it the most value, my dear ones, for it is true that you are only here for your soul's growth. You are not here to do a particular physical job. You are not here to become famous, and there's nothing wrong in this, or becoming wealthy. But when you give all of your attention and your energies to the physical, then you see you have lost out in your soul's growth. And the world will pull you in. It will suck you in, as you might say, and keep you captive by holding your attention. And when it does, then when you come back home in between incarnations and look over your life that you have come out of, you find that you are disappointed because the things that you gave attention to have already turned to dust and ashes. This is not scolding you, my dear ones. It is stating the truth. And for all those who will hear these words, who are not here tonight, and those who will hear them in the future, I would have you to understand that we love you dearly and that we seek ways to get your attention, to not interfere with your free will, but to help you in every way possible, help you to understand when you are thinking negative thoughts, when you are thinking destructive thoughts, or when you are just not giving your soul and your spirit enough attention to feed it for the growth that it needs. When one becomes out of balance in this way, then physical disabilities can come about, physical dis-ease, the lack of harmony within the mind and the thought can bring about dis-ease in the physical body. And your emotional bodies and your astral bodies are all tied in with these lower dimensions. Your astral, your emotional, and your physical body are the lower dimensions as we think of it from this level. Now, as you move into the mental and the spiritual realms, then you bring light and understanding into your consciousness, and you awaken to the truth that life is for the living, but living from the highest point instead of the lowest point of consciousness. Your physical, my dear ones, is the lower point of consciousness. The spiritual beings that you are, that are truly God's, is the highest point of consciousness. And until you can take your attention away from the physical enough to feed your spiritual self, to feed your soul by giving it thought, by giving it attention, by communicating with the God within you, then you are starving the most valuable part of yourself. And as this soul of you is starved, it is like some of the pictures that you have seen of the starving people in other countries where they are just skeletons. And when you do not feed your soul, it shrinkens and becomes shriveled. And the love that it needs is not there. You may wax fat in the physical, but my dear ones, you are not physical beings in true reality. You are spiritual beings. And when you understand this, and you give attention to the reality of your being, then can you have the balance that you need, the balance of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. All three need to be fed. Your physical needs to be fed to maintain its energy and to continue to live. Your mind needs to be fed in order to stimulate the connection between the spirit and the physical. And as you understand this, and as you move closer and closer to understanding the true nature of your being, then you can move higher in consciousness. You can have the balance that you need. You have 24 hours in your day, and you are entrapped in this little box of time that you call one day that has 24 hours. My dear ones, this is illusion, but you are trapped in this, and you go from day to day, and in this period of time, you either are out of balance or you are in balance. You are feeding just your physical sometimes, or sometimes you feed some of the mental, and sometimes you do not feed the spiritual at all. Now let us say, how can we feed the spiritual? I think you understand how to feed the physical, because in your country sometimes it is overfed, and to feed the mental is to bring understanding from the spiritual realms down into the mental realms, so that it can then be brought down to your conscious awareness. This is the true food for the mental, but it needs to be stimulated. And by coming to classes like this, by doing your homework that you are cajoled to do, by reading good books that stimulate your understanding of spirit, this is feeding the mind. And then when you become quiet and set in stillness and make contact with the God within you, you are feeding your soul. And then sometimes when you are reading a good book that really stimulates your understanding of your true awareness, this is also feeding the soul. And if in a circle of light, as this is, when you come together and you understand the message that is being brought, the spirit is being fed. We encourage you to understand this and not be disappointed when you end your incarnation and come back home and have not grown as you had planned to do. There are so many who come from your plane to the other realms above your plane in between incarnations and look their lives over and are very disappointed, and it takes a while for them to get over this and to start making new plans. If we can communicate to you the very, very valuable part of your soul's growth while you are in the physical, and if you can take the time that you are entrapped in your little box of 24 hours and utilize at least 10% of it to feed your soul, then will you grow in spirit. Then will you raise your consciousness. And I tell you, my dear ones, when you do this, then anything that you do in the physical is going to be enhanced many times over. But when you starve your soul and your spirit, you may wax fat in the physical, but when you leave your physical body, you leave it all behind, because you cannot take any of these physical things with you, but you do take an empty feeling of lack when you come to these levels and have not fed your soul, have not grown in understanding of your true being, have not made contact with the God within you. This seems to be a lesson of scolding you, and I do not mean it in this way. All of these words I say to you in the purest of love, but I feel that they are necessary for any and all on this plane to hear every once in a while, to be able to draw yourself up short and take inventory and see if you are doing your part for your spirit, the reality of your being. Remember that your physical is not you. Remember that what you do in the physical is important, but it's much more important how you think about it and how you feel about yourself as a spiritual being. Let us pause and see if we have questions this evening.
When you talk about giving at least 10% to your spiritual growth, and then you referred to how that enhances your everything in your physical, does that fall into play as the things that are right for you will come into your physical, opposed to the saying, I want this, type thing in the material that we're so conditioned of doing?
You have free will, my dear one, and your question is a little bit clouded, but when you understand the spiritual being that you are, and let me give you the example that you know about, the master teacher. It was called Jesus. He had the power to walk on water, to raise the dead, and to heal the blind. You see, he knew his true being. And this is what I am referring to. It does not matter what you do in your workaday world. It matters that you enjoy it and that you take pleasure in it and that you do it with love. But it does matter that you give your spirit and your soul its ration of food and not starve it. Does this help your understanding? Yes. Are there other questions this evening? In this small class, it is a good time to ask questions and to be open. Yes.
In reference to the, you made a statement about how we sometimes eat more than is necessary on the physical. Is there a way of coming into a balance there to avoid the waste or overexertion of eating too much? I've been concerned about that lately, and I was just wondering.
The fad in your generation, my dear one, is to be slender. And with your physical exertions that you are doing, you are not apt to overeat because you work off the excess weight in your physical work that you're doing. It is when you do not get exercise enough and continue to eat as if you were, this is when you put on the extra weight, shall we say, and then it is a burden to you. It can be a burden to you. It is not a big thing. I was just making a comparison in feeding, in the lack of feeding the spirit. So many make too much of what they eat, and so much is said about the pureness of the food and the physical. But I tell you, my dear ones, you have heard the saying, mind over matter. Well, let's go another step and say spirit over mind and matter. And it does not matter that much that you eat exactly in the physical everything if you are operating correctly in your thoughts, and if you are in touch with your spirit, it will be all balanced out. But there are times, and in this time, there is not that much exercise as you are getting in most occupations. And those who sit all day in an office and then continue to overeat or eat the wrong kind of foods, do weigh themselves down with this extra weight and cause some problems. But I do not want to emphasize this. I want to minimize this aspect. The important thing that I want to bring into your understanding is the feeding of the soul, because this is, on your plane, is left out so much that the difference between overfeeding your body and the lack of feeding your soul is, you cannot compare it. Some individuals have genes, as you have understood, that they are going to have different kinds of bodies, and it doesn't matter that much what size your body is. It does matter with your health if you feel that it matters and if you think that it matters. But it matters so much more how you are with God within you. This is the important thing, that you came to this physical plane to be involved in all of this play that goes on, all of the games that goes on, and be able to reach beyond this with your spiritual understanding and keep alive your contact with the God within you, and feed your spirit, and keep alive the feeding of your soul. Does this make sense to you?
Yes, I've been thinking a lot of those along the same line.
Yeah.
Good affirmation of where I've been at. Thank you.
Yes. Are there other questions this evening? Let me ask you to ask questions about healing. And I would like all of you who are here in the physical and all in the spirit. There are many, many in the spirit here tonight, and they are learning things that they did not have opportunity to learn in the physical about healing. But think within yourself of questions that you would like to know and understand about spiritual healing. It may come about that we have several classes on this subject, and if you can give some input as to what you would like to know about spiritual healing, and this would help us to bring about the lessons and the classes that would help you to gain the understanding that you want. Will you give me some input, please?
I have a question in reference to healing. I've read in several books, some people have, in retrospect to like acne, being forms of bursts of anger from within that are working themselves out. Could you elaborate on that a little more?
Yeah.
As far as a way to eliminate it?
Yes, as within, so without answers your question, but I am sure that you would like to elaborate more, would you not?
Yeah.
Yes. And that you realize that it is the frustrations, mostly of the teenagers who are going through the change of becoming an adult and growing out from the childhood into adulthood. And it is the confusion and the concern about their physical appearance that brings about this for some. For others who retain this problem after their adolescence, it is a trap of the same thing, a trap of frustration within, and anger is involved in frustration, a frustration of not knowing how to relate to the outer physical world and to others around them. And it becomes more of a problem when they dig at the acne or the little pimples or whatever you would call them. And they do this unconsciously because they are angry at them being there. And so they unconsciously do this, and sometimes consciously, and cause it to be a permanent problem. So it is partly of the nervous system, it is partly of anger and frustration of not getting what they want in life that is plainly outpictured in their face and other parts of their body. And when you see these scars on someone's face, you can know that it may be a karmic thing from another lifetime, but it also could come from just this life of being frustrated and not receiving what they think is their just due, and not knowing what to do about it. Those who are scarred quite a bit, you can almost be assured that it has come through several lifetimes. You are not speaking of yourself, are you?
Yes, I've made quite a bit of progress in healing scarred acne, and it's a little bit that I get these days. But the last couple of years I've made a lot of progress in it. But you hit the nail on the head. It does have a lot to do with frustration of wanting to be right in the world, thinking that I'm not in the right spot and stuff. Dealt with a lot of that when I was growing up. So what you're saying is right on the mark.
Yes. There are many things that are outpictured in our physical that come from sometimes many lifetimes, but also sometimes just from this life. Most of the things that we are dealing with that seem heavy to us are a large burden, are carryovers from other lives. And when we plan an incarnation with the help of the Lords of Karma, we plan for these to come to the surface so that we can see them, so that we will have the opportunity to be engaged with this so-called disfigurement or cripple or some kind of dis-ease in the physical, so that we can plainly see it and then have the opportunity to go within and find the real cause. Very few people, and the percentage of the people on your planet, do not have this understanding that the outpicturing comes from within, but it is true of anything that is in the physical body or anything that is in the action of the individual, any part of the personality that seems to be distorted or seems to be different, shall we say, can be an outward manifestation of an inner turmoil or inner misunderstanding of the real truth of life. Now, the answer for all of these, my dear ones, and we are speaking of healing this evening, and the healing comes from divine love. And the answer is knowing and understanding the true divine love, how to receive it, how to give it, how to relate to it with the God within us, and especially how to love ourselves. This is one of the largest tripping stones that man has on this physical plane, is that he has been programmed and conditioned to not love himself. And through many incarnations, this has been ingrained that it is unrighteous to love yourself. There is a thing called vanity that is different, and overdoing the vanity, over emphasizing your beauty and whatever. You understand what I mean by this. But the largest thing one of the largest things that mankind has to deal with is learning to accept himself as he is, accept his body, accept his mind, and accept his place in life. But that very few have this ability to really accept themselves as they are and love themselves as they are and accept their place in life, whether it be their job or whatever they are doing with their life. Does this make sense to you?
Yes.
Are there questions from any other?
Speaking of along the lines of dealing with adolescents, how do you, without preaching to them, or since that's not allowed in the school system, how do you get across to them that they are okay as they are and to love themselves?
It is not disallowed to teach them if you do not place a religion with it, in a sense. And you can teach them by example, but also by words and by slogans. You know, the children and teenagers have click sayings, and they catch on to these easily. And I am reminded of one of your movies, Oh God, and the second movie where the young girl started this slogan and this fad. Did you see this movie? And something like this. And it does not have to be carried to the extreme that the movie carried it to. But if you can start something, and if you will listen from within, you will be guided as to how to do this and to bring about an understanding. And if you can get a click saying going, that it's all right to love myself, it's okay to like me, or something of this nature that the children can accept, then it will make a big difference in the rest of their life if they really get the true meaning. You, as a teacher, have a great opportunity to mold and shape the thinking patterns of those that you work with. You are working with the disabled, are you not? Yes. And sometimes they are more open than the so-called normal children because they, depending on the extreme of their disablement, sometimes you can reach them in the depths that you can't reach the average child because of pride and ego. Do you not find this so? Yes. And little sayings and repeated to them will sink in, and they may not bear fruit quickly, but they will bear fruit in time. Does this help your understanding? Yes. Are there other questions? It is very important that in this particular time of your period that you do reach the children and that you reach the ones who are in trouble with themselves because they have not love. And with your modern technology of movies and videos and different things, if more attention was given to reaching them with healing of the scars that they have received by not receiving love and maybe being abused, this would make a big difference. And if more of your economy was spent on preventing wars, it would be so much better. There is a saying that you have an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And in this sense, it is very true that when we can have the opportunity to reach the young ones and help them to get their life started in a better way, to mold and shape their thoughts, not by taking their free will away from them, but by giving them the opportunity. Children need love, and they want love. And with the power of love, you can help them greatly. Are there other questions this evening? Feel free to ask questions and to make comments. It adds so much more to the class. Our subject matter tonight is healing, and there are many, many aspects of healing. Healing of the physical body, healing of the mind, and the healing of the spirit. But remember that to receive healing in its truest form, it must come from the highest point of spirit. We must tap into the God within us and within others, because it is the same God. And if someone comes to you for healing, if you can tap into the God within you, then you are in touch with the God within them, because there is no difference. It is the same God. And when you can have the understanding to allow yourself to be a channel, you do not have to have a great deal of knowledge. All you need to have is a desire to serve and love in your heart and allow God to work through you. And it can bring about many miracles when you can open the doors, those inner doors to the higher levels of divine love and light that are within everyone. When you open them within yourself and you are in contact on the physical with others, this can help to open them within them. At least it gives the other an opportunity to open the doors. It is still their free will to hold on to their problems, to hold on to their infirmity. But when you, after they have reached out to you, make contact with the God within you, you are making contact with the God within them. Is this understandable to you?
Yes.
Yes. Remember that very few healings are instantaneously, and it is good to plant seeds, to plant ideas into the minds and into the hearts of those around you. And sometimes this can be done without words. It can be done with your aura, as you say. If you are feeling godlike, if you are feeling spiritual, if you are feeling love, then your aura says this. And whether another can sense this or not, it reaches out and touches them when they come near you. And they are blessed, whether they know it or not. And it may not manifest at that time, or it may not manifest at all if they do not accept it, but at least they have the opportunity to. So it behooves you to keep yourself open to the Spirit of God through all the many dimensions of you, all the way through to the physical conscious awareness. Keep a song, a litany going in your mind of God's love for you and for all His creations. let this be something that you make a habit of, and this will keep the contact alive from the highest point down to the lowest. It has been a blessed privilege to be with you this evening, and I look forward to other times of speaking with you on this subject of healing, and open your hearts and your minds for your own healing so that you may reach out to help others. God bless you, and good evening. Somebody else came in. I guess it was not enough. Huh?
I notice we had a little friend every week.
Yeah.
For you.
Who is it tonight?
Or, yeah, we have some.
You partnered right about there. I never see him get there, Rose.
Well, they're getting benefit, I guess.
You're really very talented. I am.
I was sent something, and I thought,
Once to check the tape.
huh?
I got up once to check the tape.
You got a what?
I got up once.
Oh, we got to
So you might have picked up from that.
okay. Well, how did you feel about this class tonight?
Good. It seems like I'm finding more. I feel like I'm on track with my own thoughts and what's coming through me, because I'm noticing more of the channelings and stuff seem to connect with things for me or how they do for me. It's like, there's so much agreement there,
Mm-hmm.
What I hear and what I've been thinking is right on the same mark.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good. It's kind of like a fermentation of knowing I'm on the right track.
Confirmation.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a little trouble trying that. One of my questions, trying to, like I am now, trying to say the way I want to say something.
To express yourself.
Yeah, and I can't find the right words with that. With that. Of course, I've probably asked more questions since I've been down here and involved at the center than I think I did when I was in school.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had a big crowd here tonight, and let's stand up, hold hands, and include them in our circle. All the invisibles. And let's include all those who are not here this evening. All those on this planet that they healing. Let's think of this circle, a small circle, cool, healing cool. And anyone that can think that you think like they healing, they can drop them into this healing cool. We don't have to do that violence in your mind, but to another cool. And feel God's love building up around this circle. On supplying many iron to his heavenly host, on the way out to all the world leaders, to all the trouble spots in the world. I just think God's love going into the center of this week, into our every thought, word, and deed. And let us think God's love reminding us to keep in contact with our spiritual self more often, and give it the food that it needs. Thank goodness.